Maximize your wealth now.
Yes, in business, finance, family, and lifestyle. Think about it. As a certified financial educator, my whole goal for this program originally was to bring business and finance together with spiritual principles and universal laws. And all of it needs to come from the heart. Got it?
Maximize your wealth now.
Absolutely. Yes!
Welcome to Maximize Your Wealth Now in business, finance, family, and lifestyle. I'm Shirlene Reeves.
And I'm Barbara Wainwright.
And we're so excited today because we have two awesome guests. We have Katy Goshtasbi, and she is going to talk all about branding from the heart and the importance of thinking about the heart before you develop your branding and your colors and all of that. So I'm really excited to hear from her.
All right, and we have Jim Kazmarek, who's here to share about how to save your house from burning embers in the case of a fire.
So let's get going.
Yes.
Katy Goshtasbi is an international professional public speaker on topics of personal branding, leadership, marketing, and business development. She is the author of 2 books, including a bestseller for the American Bar Association. Originally from Iran, Katy attended law school in the United States and for 15 years was a successful securities lawyer. 9 years ago, Katy realized her natural talent is to support others in finding their mission and message with clarity and consistency so they can share their message with the world and shine.
You really have to own it. It's the self-confidence part. Whatever you got going on, you're only going to convince me of that if you own it.
Her clientele includes MetLife, Dwayne Morris, Oracle, Lane Powell, Mitchell International, Northwestern Mutual Life, and artists in the music industry. In 2018, she will chair the American Bar Association Law Practice Division and is on the National Board of Directors of the Women of Color in the Law. She is a founding member of Women Give San Diego and had the privilege to interview Byron Katie. Her company is certified as a woman-owned entity for supplier diversity within organizations.
You come from a background of branding your business from a heartfelt position, and I really love that. That's so important, and it's really a piece that so many businesses miss completely, especially the big corporations.
Exactly. So truly what I see is that as individuals out in society, we allow others to define who we are and our values and let them determine that for us. And I'm always thinking of the person first and then their role and what they bring to their job and their title and their career. So my goal is to have people really reflect on what are my own values and what do I bring to the game, and am I worth it? Of course I'm worth it. And am I worthy? And am I good enough? And that transcends anything, and it goes back to the person. So once you master who you are and your values as a brand, then your business life falls into place, large corporations or small, as well as your individual life.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So it must be difficult, I'm just thinking, it might be difficult for a whole corporation to master who are they. How does that work?
Well, so the way I look at it is, so whether we're in a large corporation or a small corporation or a one-shop operation, it's always about the individuals.
Okay.
I think as society, we forget who we are and we lose sight of our values, like I said. And it's really important for me to instill in every person that they matter and they have a brand. And what happens then is we go in and we develop this brand culture based on values, on individual people's values. And oftentimes the people that run the corporations will tell me, the marketing departments will say, well, more power to you because we're not getting into the trenches with them, right? The employees. You jump right in. We're just standing here and monitoring to see if revenues are shifting and how much, and is attrition going down and learning agility going up. And so that's my job, to jump in the trenches with everyone.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. So you're really giving a voice to everybody in the company so that they can feel good about where they're working and what they're doing and the message that they're delivering to the world. And I love that you said everybody is important, everybody counts, everybody needs to have a voice in that process.
Absolutely. You know, it comes from my background. So as an immigrant, we came to this country thinking we were staying for 2 weeks, and we stayed a lifetime, and we brought 2 suitcases.
Oh my gosh.
And I went to law school because I always wanted to be of service, and then I decided I did that for 14 years. And I realized, though, that at some point I wasn't serving a purpose anymore. And I was just, lawyers have a great purpose in society, don't get me wrong. And I love all my legal friends, but for me it wasn't enough. And I noticed in corporate America, and I worked across the spectrum of corporate America, that we were just a number. And I really, my goal then became, when I left my career and started this career, to individualize that process for people so they had a sense of real ownership and belonging within the corporations, and so everyone flourishes as a result of that.
Yeah, nice.
And that really stops the attrition too, because I think one of the biggest problems corporations have is attrition. They pay to train people, they pay to get them into the field if they're doing sales or they're doing marketing, and then boom, they disappear because they're not happy with something that's going on in the company.
Absolutely. So we see it so often that we'll get calls, generally from, say a law firm, and they'll say, the women lawyers are leaving. We don't know what to do.
Wow.
And we need a mentorship program. And I say, well, you don't really need a mentorship program, because I can't mentor you if I don't feel like I have a good sense of my own being and my own brand, as we call it. So I'm no real benefit to you. However, we form support circles in organizations where we develop each person's brand. And it doesn't have to be by gender, really male or female, but it helps to understand that that does affect attrition. And when people feel they're part of the team, that they have a specific niche they fall into that forms the whole and forms a oneness to the concept, that they really want to get up in the morning and come to work, and that makes a difference.
Wow. Wow. So do you have a story you'd love to share with us about a success that you worked with someone and they're so happy about it?
So many stories. You know, when I first started this business, I would hold up my phone and my husband would be like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I made a difference in someone's life, and I would start crying. So there's so many stories. So there's really 3 big benefits that we provide as a result of working for us. One is we reduce people's stress and increase their self-confidence.
Nice.
I found through my formal research there's a direct inverse correlation between your stress and your self-confidence. So as your stress goes up, and it naturally does in corporate America, your self-confidence starts to drop proportionally, and then your brand doesn't resonate, meaning you don't emotionally resonate with your audience. And so what we do is we're always trying to reduce that stress. So one of my clients, for instance, she comes to us from academia, so a very large institution that we all know of. And she came and she was so focused on the substantive that she wasn't able to reconcile the rest of who she was. And her goal was to see what her next steps were, whether she should stay in academia or not. My goal was just to have her reflect on, well, why are you in academia, and what do you bring, and how do you lead this team to really inspire them and bring them to light. And then you can decide whether you should stay or go, but not until you're complete with that reduction of stress and increasing of self-confidence. And since then, she's been running full tilt ahead, and she's developed programs for her staff. And it's just amazing to sit back and watch what people can do when they're really empowered with that concept.
And you know, so many times in our lives, we can support someone, but we don't get to see the benefit of the gift that we gave them. And I can tell that with what you do, you can see it fairly quickly because you help people grow into who they are.
Absolutely. And that's really what I was missing so much of in corporate America as a lawyer. The benefit was I would make companies more wealthy, and I was a great securities lawyer, but there was a part of me that wasn't fulfilled in that sense. So now, for instance, one of the benefits we provide is we teach them, what is your natural talent? What is that passion you have that you wake up in the morning and that really gives you energy to get going? And as a result, it's the same energy that I have for when I wake up in the morning and I do this work and I see this shift in people, and I want everyone to have that same benefit for themselves, because then there is no such thing as work. It's just a natural progression and extension and the flow of who we are as people, and that's the beautiful part.
And do you work with small businesses too? I mean, if you
You do, yes?
Absolutely. We work with small businesses because in my world, no one gets left behind, right? Everyone has a say in it.
I love that.
And that's very important. So we have different programs for different kinds of corporations or entities that we work with. But I guess I can't practice that part of what I teach. I always teach people, you know, in marketing and branding to niche down. However, I have trouble saying no when somebody really wants to do this work, because I always tell all my clients, you're so brave, and I need you to be brave enough to be willing to look inward and reflect, and then let us bring that out to market and share it with the world and develop that as a brand. And when they do that, how could you say no to someone who wants to be better and be a contribution? You just can't.
Right. And do you work with people's branding colors also, and their materials, their branding materials?
So that's a corollary benefit. So people sometimes come to us and say, well, forget all this stuff. I just want to look good and sound good, and I want lots of tchotchkes, and I want my website to look great. Well, we don't even do website production. We do all the things that come before that, the hard stuff, frankly. So as a corollary of working with us, yes, you will have a sense of what your colors are. There's got to be a flow and a resonance between who you are and how the world sees you. Otherwise, I call it, there's brand dissonance, and it doesn't really resonate with your audience. So it's a natural progression, those things that come about as a result of working with us.
Brand dissonance. That's a new word I hadn't heard before.
There you go.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
So do you have a story about a client where you did help them come from a difficult spot to really come and blossom out, that you'd like to share?
So the benefit that we provide in terms of natural talent, really figuring out how you're going to get up in the morning, what's your passion.
Yes.
I had a client come to me several years ago, over 4 years ago, and when he came to me, he dropped out of law school and he was working as a waiter. And I saw the potential in this person, and he had this vision of being a legendary sports agent. And I'm like, why are you serving pancakes then? And so we started down this road. He ended up going back to law school, finishing, runs a fantastic sports agency now. You wouldn't believe the kind of clients he gets and how he draws them in. And he's just got a plan and a strategy for hiring people, recruiting, and he's got a reason why the sports industry resonates with him. And he's gotten global, and he's expanded into entertainment in general, because we work with a lot of artists as well. And it's just watching this transition of this person that had so much potential, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, I see how people have this ability to shine, and they just don't want to own it because they don't think they're interesting enough. And when you don't think anyone else cares, why would you want to share or self-promote yourself? Because you don't think anyone's going to listen. And so you don't engage from that place.
And what about those people that are afraid to step up?
Well, everyone is afraid to step up at some level, and that's why I say the first step in brand development is having courage and being fearless and truly saying, you know, I want to choose to see things differently, and I will. And as a result, the fear just goes away because we put in an intentional process for you to really evolve and shine. And it really becomes a portion that I call, one of the benefits is really about being able to let yourself shine and being able to self-promote in a healthy way where you attract the right people and environment to yourself. And that takes courage, but once you get the ball rolling, there's no stopping people because you're interesting, they're interested, and it's a connection value you have at that point.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
That's really brilliant.
You really said that beautifully.
Well,
thank you. So do you have any final thoughts for us today?
Well, my final thoughts would be that if I could leave a mark for everyone to know that they really do matter, and to wake up every morning feeling inspired and wanting to be of value and of a change agent, whatever that means to people, and going out there and choosing to do that for themselves, big or small, because I see so many people that come to us and they have so much potential and they don't choose to look at it that way, and I'm their biggest cheerleader. So find yourself a cheerleader and don't let anyone tell you no, because it's a process.
Wonderful.
Oh, I love that.
Thank you. I love how you come from your heart, and thank you for spending time with us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been an honor.
Hi, I'm Shirlene Reeves with Maximize Your Wealth Now with a new tip on how to maximize your wealth. What if you could compel your clients rather than selling them so that they would work with you? Wouldn't that be so much easier? Wouldn't it be easier to have more income? I talk to entrepreneur after entrepreneur, and they're running from networking group to networking group, and they're so tired. And the reason they're tired is because they're not making any money, and they don't know how to work with their perfect clients. What if I said to you, compel, don't sell, and I could give you the tips for how to do that? I'm tearing back the curtain, and I'm going to show you how I built my business from zero to multi-millions, and I want you to make multi-millions too. So check it out on my website, MaximizeYourWealthNow.com, and get signed up for the next class. I promise you, I guarantee you, you won't be sorry.
Jim Kazmarek was raised in the Grosse Pointe Woods near Detroit, Michigan during the muscle car era of the 70s and a period of Detroit's golden years. As a young man, he cut grass in the summers and shoveled snow in the winters while developing his zeal for the entrepreneurial spirit. At 9, he worked in his dad's shop, learning to work with precision machinery while developing an understanding of how materials fit together to operate reliably. Jim has a passion for protecting the environment. During the years of California drought, he recognized the importance of protecting his family home from the threat of potential fires in the surrounding areas. Utilizing his background in construction and engineering in the aerospace industry with Lockheed Martin, Jim invented the Ember Deflector, an easy-to-use and easy-to-install device that can be operated remotely with your cell phone to save your family's greatest asset.
California has been going through a huge drought. It's really, really been a big problem. And there's so many fires all over the state. And I think one of the biggest fears is that we'll lose our houses because we feel totally unprotected. And I'd love it if you'd share with our viewers what it is that you see in this picture.
Well, first, thank you for having me. It's such a privilege and an honor to be here, ladies, and being able to share some important information with folks that'll really help empower them. You know, when it comes to fire, fire has been our frenemy for so long. You know, back in the Stone Age days, it kept the saber-toothed tigers away, and it cooked our brontosaurus meat, and even today, you know, we sterilize our medical implements, and we use laser flame cutters to cut steel. It does all these wonderful things. But when there's fire on the landscape and there's 22 million trees of tree mortality, there's all this fuel out there, and so many people are familiar with this idea that, you know, fire is just so detrimental to the landscape. So we have identified a few simple areas that people can do to kind of take some of that control back away from this idea that we have no control when it comes to fire. People don't realize that it's not the big fire that burns so many homes down. It's these little things called embers, or when you talk about the fire professionals, they call them fire brands. Oh. And if you've ever seen fires on TV, they'll oftentimes show these little ethereal embers floating around through the air.
Yes.
And those embers attack a few very vulnerable parts of the home. You know, most homes here, especially in California, they have a stucco exterior, which is very fire resistant. They have a Class A roof, which simply put means that it's resistant to fire. Okay. There are little holes that ventilate the attic space, or if you have a home that's built above ground with a crawl space underneath it, there are these vents that provide ventilation.
I've seen them.
Yeah. So many people have, and they're like, well, what is that? They don't really realize what it is. Well, those are kind of the lungs for the home. They provide this ventilation, allow the home to breathe. They're also the primary point of entry for embers, fire, smoke, high velocity wind and rain.
Wow.
So we at our company, we try to deal with things at a root cause level and come up with solutions rather than a Band-Aid approach. Let's get at the root cause of this. And protecting these holes are the solution for this. The ember deflector system and the idea of it came about when I had to evacuate my home with my family. And as so many San Diegans have experienced, you know, there's nothing more emotional than driving away from your home after getting the reverse 911 call. And what do you grab in an hour?
Yes.
The photos, important documents.
Jewelry.
Sure, jewelry, sure. Well, that wasn't me. I was getting my
And
tools. My
kids.
wife was getting the jewelry. Oh, kids too. And pets, of course.
Pets, yes, okay, pets.
And, you know, we have things on our website that people can go to emberdeflector.com, and we have little hyperlinks where people can click on them and they can learn what to do if they have things from dogs and cats all the way up to horses and llamas and chickens. And to find out where the most recent fire activity is and just kind of stay up to date on those types of things. We offer a lot of little tips above and beyond our actual core intellectual property, and that's the ember deflector system. You want to go around your house, you know, everybody's got a smartphone these days or an iPad, some type of technology that they can quickly and inexpensively go around their home and, you know, take a picture of the big screen. You know, we bought this last year and it was $600, and take a picture of the receipt for that. You want to have those things in case you do lose your home and your belongings. Now you have documented proof of the condition and how recently you got these things. So go around your home, take those pictures, the jewelry, the pets, the technology, all of these things, and that helps you afterwards. But we really want to focus on the beforehand. You know, fires can come up so quickly. I have a good friend who has a lovely family, and he lives in a very rural area. And a number of years ago, middle of the night, his little girl comes in the middle of the night, Daddy, wake up, I hear something outside.
Oh.
And as he's approaching the window, he can see light around his curtains, and he thinks, well, it doesn't feel to me like it should be morning. And thinking that it is morning, he draws back the curtain, and the fire is literally 50 feet away from him and descending on his house. And they literally got out with the pajamas on their back and their lives.
Wow.
Their house was lost, all of their stuff. And just taking a few simple steps, you can help insulate yourself from that problem. The ember deflector system, the Burlo, taking the pictures of the things around your home. Another big thing that, again, is so simple that many people don't realize is defensible space around your home. If there's not stuff around your home to catch on fire, that fire is not going to get up close to your home and set your home on fire. So having a zero escape, you know, low maintenance, so you're going to save on water, and not having those fuels up close to your home. Big bushes and trees, as lovely as they look, you can still have them. Just
fire hazard.
Push them out on your property. You're absolutely right. They're a huge fire hazard. And so many trees, eucalyptus, pine trees, they go up and off like a Roman candle when there's a fire and they catch on fire. So taking a few simple steps, you can really insulate yourself from this. You know, and the fire forensics, there's so many CSI shows on TV with the fire forensics, and it was a fascinating journey for me to get exposed to all this and learn all of this. And they say, you know, if you just take a few simple steps, you can really protect yourself, because fire is an opportunistic event. And it's such a transitional event as well, that if you can protect your home for those couple of minutes where fire's moving by or it's being bombarded with embers, you and your family and your belongings are going to survive the fire.
So how did you get into this business? Was it because you had that experience of having to leave your home from a fire? Or?
Yeah, that was part of it, but my background is in construction and engineering. I've worked in the aerospace industry. I've been a contractor. I've done all these things, and that was really kind of the culmination of having to evacuate my home. I thought, well, I'll just go over to Home Depot and get something to put on my vents to protect my home. And it turns out that there weren't any really good products out there to protect my home from the impact of fire.
Tell us what you do. I can't wait for this.
It's a really simple thing. And, you know, when you walk up to the home, there's the wall, and then there's the overhang of the roof. And that zone up there is called the eaves of the home. And I know this will be a painful recollection for some people. Remember back to high school when we learned that hot air rises.
Yes.
And when the municipal engineers were looking at ways to provide ventilation for attic space, they wanted to find a freebie. Well, hot air rising would be great. Let's put some holes down low and some holes up high. The hot air will rise out of the higher holes, and fresh, cool air will get sucked into the cool air will get sucked into these lower holes.
Right.
So sometimes the holes are round like this. Sometimes they're a big rectangular cutout.
Right.
And so this is an example of the round holes. And our device, which we have recently automated, we don't just have the manual system anymore. Now you can close it from your smartphone.
Oh my gosh.
If you're at work and you can't get home, you can just log on to the app and close them from home. And it just closes the doors across these holes.
So simple.
It really is. And that's why I thought there was something out there, and I would just go and buy it. And using, you know, my machining skills and my creative skills, I was able to come up with this. Now, this is a stainless steel frame, very tough material, very fire resistant. And you can't permanently block these holes. You want to be able to have that ventilation.
Since it's the lungs, you kill your house, right?
You don't want to close your lungs off. And then once the destructive forces have moved on, then you just actuate the system and open the doors back up.
Amazing.
Very, very simple stuff.
That's amazing.
And then just a slightly bigger configuration for some of the other holes that are up higher on the house.
So you do it at the high ones and the low ones.
Exactly. Yes.
And then none of those embers that are flying around can get into the house. So then the houses around you will go down, but yours won't.
So, okay, so that brings up a question.
Nice.
That brings up a question. So the embers are what actually cause the fires within the house, but if they hit stucco, nothing's going to happen with an ember, right? But when they go into the house and they sweep in and they're still red hot, that's when they hit things that are flammable, I guess.
Sure. Well, look at what we do for storage space in our homes. We look to our attic, and we put our decorations up there. We put our photos up there. Even the structures of the house, the wooden trusses that support the roof and the ceilings inside of the house, because they've been up there for so long, they are just bone dry. And they're quick tinder. When a little ember lands on them, and typically that ember will land just inside of these holes, and you've got all this fresh air that's jetting into the holes, and what's it doing? It's blowing.
It's making the, it's getting the flames.
The ember will spontaneously combust, and the timbers will go up in flames. And the firemen, they could be parked in front of your house when smoke starts coming out of these vents. By the time they deploy their hoses and hook them up to the hydrant, that home will be totally engulfed. Fire moves so rapidly, and once the trusses start to burn, they collapse into the living space. Now all of your furniture goes up in flames, and it happens so quickly. They don't even stop. They just keep on driving. They look for other homes that they can set up a perimeter, and it's all about containment when you talk about fires.
Yeah, they talk about that on the news too, containment. It's contained or it's not contained, or it's 90% contained, you know, and that's all you hear about.
It's a measure of success against the fire, and it's such a fast-moving enemy. And what we're looking at with the ember deflector system is the ability for people, rather than having to vacate their homes, to actually do what they call shelter in place.
Ooh, okay.
You know, rather than having to go find a hotel or go over to Arizona or do something, or just sit on the freeway waiting for the fire department to do something. This allows people to stay in their homes, protect the home, keep the fires out, and then once the fire has moved past, then you can go back to, you know, living your life, and you know, you live to fight another day.
Yeah.
Jim, this has been so enlightening, and I know that our viewers are really going to be excited about finding out how to get this. I mean, I just so appreciate that you've come on the set with us today to share your invention. It's just amazing.
It was a wonderful opportunity. I appreciate the the ability to share these simple solutions that people can do to take some of that control back in their lives when they're faced with these destructive forces. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.